So many founders and software businesses actually don't nail this point. Real money is made in retention, not by continuously chasing new customers. What's up everyone? Welcome to, I would say, a very important video that I've made so far. Now, I just want to address who this video is for. This video is for those who run a subscription-based business. Now, so it doesn't matter if you run a SaaS product, a B2B, B2C software product, an AI business subscription product, this video is for you. And this video is for those founders and businesses who are struggling with churn. Okay, if you're struggling with low customer retention and people are leaving your product, this video is also for you. This video are also for startups. If let's say you are just launching an MVP or your product is still new and you still really don't have that many users in your business, this video still applies to you because you read the video title and this is about retention. This is about churn, and that is something that will still affect you. So it is way better for you to prioritize on churn, to prioritize on a retention strategy right now. Better for you to focus on it secondhand because it will bite you in the ass later on. So just to introduce myself, my name is Fikri and this is my specialty. I help subscription-based businesses, software specifically, to reduce your churn rate, essentially helping you with customer retention, which also results in you saving a lot of revenue from churn losses. Now, just to give you some backstory on what I do, I used to run an educational content agency. I helped one of my biggest clients, Singapore Management University, which is the leading university business in Asia, to create their massive open online course about finance. And so thus far in 2025, July of 2025, we still have enlisted around 1,800 students. And out of those 1,800 students, more than 1,100 of them actually completed the whole online course. And bear in mind, just to let you know, this course is around 3 to 4 hour long course about finance, about whatever the business university topic is talking about. Now, there is just some social proof I just want to clarify to you because I'm not some expert in coding, I'm not a developer, but I do definitely know a thing or two about retention, about how to actually keep your users and the reasons on why your users were to leave. This is my specialty, so I do know a thing or two about this kind of stuff. And so now this is the table of content that I'll be going through. It's just, I said, this video is going to be a very important video, perhaps one of my most impactful and relevant video that I've made on this channel. And I've seen other software creators in the whole YouTube game, but no one is really actually talking about these stuff, specific topics that I'm talking about. So this is quite of a niche topic that I'm talking about, which is why I'm actually so passionate to give you the wisdom and the knowledge that I'm giving you, because no one is talking about this type of advice. And so firstly, I would want to address the belief barrier alert, the BA. This is just to clear up some mental belief systems that you'd have some hesitations, because some of the things that I'll be talking about in this video might seem kind of outside of the blue to you, might seem quite unorthodox, and you might be kind of questioning yourself, you might be doubtful on the things that I'm talking about. So which is completely normal. It's normal for you to be hesitant because I'll be talking about things that may seem quite foreign to you. And so this alert is to just give you some clearance on what we're talking about here. So I would actually be guiding you through and holding your hand throughout this whole entire video. So now, what is the meta to retain users? Meta basically means most effective tactic available to retain users. Now, before actually going into this, I would actually want to be talking about, firstly, why are we actually talking about retaining users? I would actually want to clarify this point firstly, and I would really want to emphasize on this throughout my whole entire channel, up until even my facial hair turns gray, because so many founders and software businesses actually don't nail this point. Real money is made in retention, not by continuously chasing new customers. That is the whole premise of why we want to retain users, and the whole premise of this whole entire video and even my whole YouTube channel is to solve this phenomenon, solve this problem called churn. And with high churn rates, that is basically an indication that your users are leaving, and that will put a dent into your ARR. And oftenly enough, if you're to watch my other YouTube videos, I would always use this term of you filling water in a leaky bucket. Okay, that is basically the analogy of what it basically looks like if you're just continuously chasing new customers without actually having the intent to retain your current users. There is no point in you putting so much money and effort in acquisition, in marketing, in ad creatives, ad spends for your users to just leave. Alright, this is why we're talking about the meta to retain users. Now, going back to this, what is the most effective tactic to retain users? To be direct with you, the answer is customer education. Now, you might be wondering firstly, what is that? What the hell is customer education? Which is exactly what I'll be covering up. Customer education is basically a way to show your users how to win by guiding them on getting the most amount of value from your product and any of your features. That is it, to put it simply. Education basically shows your users how to win, and we do this by providing them and allowing them to understand what your product is for and what your feature does. Because oftenly, more than enough, the reason why your users were to leave is because they don't really know how to use your product to win. Okay, so you can kind of call this a transformation. Education allows them to win, and how we actually make them win is that we bring them through the process of how to actually use your product to win. You can basically call it as education is basically the gateway of your user using education as guidance in order for them to get to the desired situation that they want. So customer education is also the gateway to great customer success. When we're talking about education, we cannot miss out on customer success or customer experience. Now, this is a very, very important thing that I really want to drive point, and this is the effect of customer education is that when you provide a good sense of an education system, you're basically guiding your users. And when your users feel supported, they feel that they're being heard by you as a team, and they feel like they are being loved, they're actually being taken care of, they will love you for it. So this is the whole premise, and this is the whole importance of customer education. It's way more bigger than just having some articles or some videos on your product. It is literally your gateway to great customer success. Now, moving on further, I would actually want to cover up on the types of customer education. This is something that I'll be diving on deeper later on into this video, but there are different types of customer education, right? We share there are articles, there are one-to-one calls, and there is video content, micro-learning content. I would tell you right now that the best sort of customer education is micro-learning content, which is the specific strategy that I am applying. And I would get way more deeper into why this is the best strategy, but to keep it short right now is why does it work? Why does customer education work? Is that when your users understand your product, they'll become more loyal. Okay, with a great base of education, this allows your users to have a great customer experience. This is all by experience, because you are making your customers falling in love with you. Now, this is actually a concept that applies in more than just the software industry. In any other industry, this actually applies. Okay, when you have a great customer experience, people are more loyal to you and people will love you. Let's use the example of the airlines industry. One of the best commercial airlines is Singapore Airlines. And if you're to ask their customers, right, loyal customers of Singapore Airlines, why do you pick this airline so much? What is something that you love so much about Singapore Airlines? Sure, they would say it's about the product, it's about the amenities, it's about how good the Wi-Fi connection is. But more oftenly than enough, 90% of the time, customers would always say that it comes down to the customer service. The service, customer success, how you actually make them feel, right? So the same concept applies in the hotel industry, restaurants, and it also applies in the subscription-based business, specifically the software industry. Is that when your users, when they feel like you actually do really care about them, your customers will love you for it. And when they love you, they will stick to you for as long as forever. Now then, this brings me to the first belief barrier alert that you might have. You might have some doubts and some hesitations about customer education. You might be wondering like, I'm pretty sure there are some other ways to retain users. Customer education can't be the best way or the only way. Sure, it's not. I'm not saying it is the only way, but I'm just saying that it is the very, very effective way to retain your users, because I want you to just really think about it. And I'm actually speaking from a software user perspective, okay? More than enough. I'm talking from a personal experience that usually if I were to leave a product, a software product, whenever I were to try a new one, it's because I do not understand how to use it. Maybe it's because of poor onboarding process, the instructions are very unclear, I don't know where to go after the onboarding process, I do not know how to set up the first key feature, then I would just leave. I would face something called friction. And when I would face friction, it creates some mental barrier, mental roadblocks that I do not want to deal with it anymore. With customer education, this get rid with all of the friction. It smoothens the user's experience, right? This is why customer experience is so effective. It's because it plays such a big role in customer service, in your customer experience, right? So I just want you to understand this. The reason why customer education is the meta to retain users is because it reduces drag. It brings the customer retention to a more smoother pace. And when you have a good customer experience, then that basically means that you are retaining more users. So now to talk about next, how does customer education even work? If it is the meta, then how does it actually operate? So here's the thing. Customer education is actually the most leverageable way to retain your users, meaning that when you have your, let's say your micro learning content, right, you're in video form, the leverage on how you can actually optimize this is actually huge. I want you to think about this. You would only spend one time to create your educational content, and then that video, it can basically have an effect not only right now, but for your new users, even for your old users. It's just like this video, for example, right? You could be watching this video right now, but this video would to still have an impact, let's say in the next year from now, in the next 2 years from now, people would still come back to watch this video. It's the same thing with customer education, right? Do you see the ROI of this in the long term? Is that unlike, let's say, one-on-one chats or your support system, your support tickets, is that you constantly have to put an input in order for you to have an output. But when it comes to customer education, all you need to do is to just spend that one moment to create that education system, and then it can basically play on for the longest time. So that is what I mean by leverageable. Also, the another reason is that why you can optimize the hell out of customer education is that, for example, if you were to integrate an educational guide and educational tutorials in your support ticket systems, for your users, this is very, very useful, and also for your own business. Because unlike the traditional way of you having back-to-back chat supports, not only does it require you to even have a manual labor for you to hire a team successor, but you will also have to spend some time and money to be able to have an output on that, right? Because every support ticket would cost money. But if, let's say, you were to integrate the educational content into your support system, it's basically working by itself, because you are literally directly attending to your users' needs by just providing them a video on how to solve an inquiry or specific problem that they have. So this is how customer education, it's so leverageable. There's so many ways on how you can actually play on this. And the second way on how this works is that this is also the most financial sustainable way to retain your users, because it's just like, say, for the support tickets, instead of you having like a one-on-one call or like a one-to-one session, or having an actual AI agent or like a human being to reply to all of those support tickets, why not just have your self-service customer education to do the job for you? And now next, I would actually want to cover up on why users leave in the first place. Now, there are some very common reasons, and these are actually reasons based on other software companies like HubSpot, for example. So HubSpot, they actually did research, and they found out that the number one reason why users actually leave is because they don't really understand the product, or they didn't really get the aha moment of the value of a product, or they didn't really get enough time to process the quote-unquote aha moment of a product. This is not coming from me. This is literally a study that the software HubSpot actually found out. And these factors are also based on software users such as myself. I've also asked a lot of my business friends who, they have their own team, they have their own tech stack, and they would also have the same problems that I'm having. Okay, so I'm actually not the only one who's facing these type of problems. Okay, so not only this is coming from me, but this is also coming from other consumers, other software users. And last but not least is ChatGPT. Okay, some of these reasons would actually come from ChatGPT. You could literally just search out ChatGPT on why do users leave. The AI would actually give you a lot of these reasons. Now, these are so far the 6 most common reasons on why users would leave. Is that number 1 is they never really got to see the value of a product, which is just like I said, users didn't really get to see the aha moment of what your product is. And with that way, the product and the user fit isn't really there. It doesn't really link up with them. The second reason is that they didn't really use it enough, or you can call it low engagement. Now, this can happen because of poor onboarding process, because of unclear instructions, and when your users don't really use it enough, or they just forget why are they even paying for this, they will leave, of course. Next is quite self-explanatory. If your product or any of your features seems too confusing to use, then of course that would bring in more friction into your user's journey, and they would of course get turned off from that. The another one is that your user would to use your product as a one and done use case, right? A lot of users such as myself, we've been here before when I would only want to use a product only once, and then I would just stop using it because I only need it for one specific task, and then I don't need it anymore, which is quite of a normal thing, I would say, for any software businesses to face. The next one is pricing. This is also quite self-explanatory, also something that every businesses will to face. It could also be that your product could be as cheap as hell, doesn't matter what your pricing is. People will always leave regardless of the price of your product. And last one is wrong product to user fit. Now, this could be because of, let's say, the marketing campaign and your user's perception could be wrong. If let's say a potential user were to think that your product is one thing, but then it end up being another thing, and then they'll be like, oh shit, okay, this product or this feature, whoever they are, may not be who I thought they were. So yeah, that's what I mean by wrong product to user fit. Now, the thing with all of this is that half of them out of the 6, so 3 out of these 6 reasons on why users leave are actually inevitable. So it's just like you see the last 3 bullet points. These are what I call the 3 inevitable conditions on why users leave, right? It's just like the one and done use case, pricing, and wrong user to product fit. These are reasons that is very, very natural on why users would leave. Because let's be real, there's no such thing as 100% retention rate, and there's no such thing as 0% churn rate. People will always leave your product regardless of how good your product is, of how good your marketing of your business is, right? And those reasons could be because of those 3. One and done use case, your product only need to use, your users only need to use your product only once. The second one is because of pricing, and lastly is because of wrong user to product fit. And the thing is that the top 3 of these reasons are actually in your control. Because if you to actually read and really think about it, when your users don't get to see the value of a product, when your users didn't really get to use it enough, and if your product is too confusing to use, these are all very fixable things. It's just very tangible things that you can literally go back to your drawing board of your product and to fix. And the way is actually customer education, because if you to actually think about this, these 3 reasons that I'm talking about, they all actually fall into the same category, which is a lack of education. Now, how do you actually guide your users effectively? To put it simply, is that you basically just want to do the complete opposites to why they leave. For example, is this, alright? If your customers never really get to see the value of your product, the fix to this is to have welcome videos and a checklist combo, right? You are literally doing the complete opposite to why they leave, right? When your users don't get to see the value of a product, you bring value in the first place into the welcome video, into the onboarding process, and then you would actually want to add a checklist or some sort of like an engagement way for them to actually use your product effectively. Okay, which I just call it a checklist combo. Same thing with low engagement. How do you actually fix low engagement is that you would want to have any in-app nudges with content suggestions, right? If let's say in the onboarding process or after the onboarding process, or when your users were to use a new feature, you can basically have a short video, maybe a 60 seconds or 90 seconds video on how to actually use this feature and how this feature can actually bring value to them. Also, a way on what I mean by in-app nudges. Let's say your users are showing signs of inactivity. You could just bring up some pop-up video and to just tell them that, hey, remember that why are you even using this product in the first place? Remember that you use this product, and you would bring up a desired situation that you want to get to. So for example, that could be, hey, the reason why you use this product is so that you can actually save more time. The reason why you use this product is so that you can actually manage your life, so that the whole entire project management, it's all tidy and neat. And so if your users were to find your product or any part of a feature too confusing, then you could just have micro-learning content, micro-learning videos baked into your UI. Kind of similar to the in-app nudges. If let's say you were to diagnose and you were to see that, oh, these are some areas on where users were to struggle, maybe your users were to struggle on this specific feature, then when your users were to actually try to set up that feature, then you could actually have a micro learning content integrated into the UI part of that video. And so now, how do you actually create your own education system? Now, this is the next belief barrier alert that I have, is that you might think that all of this may seem quite overwhelming to you, right? A lot of these new things that you don't even know about, you might be getting even some mental overload. And that's completely normal. I get what you mean. So far, it's only been 30 minutes into this video and I still have quite a long way to go. That's normal. This may seem quite overwhelming to you, and I have a suggestion on how you can actually fix this problem. You might say that some of the things that I've talked about, or most of the things that I talk about, seem to be quite confusing. You don't know what the hell I'm talking about. That's fine. I have something that can help you to get through this. Under the description of this video, the first link is a link to my free training, my free mini course called All Humane. Now, this is a course that can actually basically teaches you, and it will actually diagnose on why your users leave, the deep psychological factor on why your users leave and how to actually make them stay. And I would actually be going through the most common mistakes that founders and businesses tend to make and why you're actually in the wrong vehicle. And at the end, I would also be going through on what is the best solution and how to actually go about things. So All Humane, which is just my mini course under the description of this video, this is a free training that isn't about technical stuff. It isn't about technical walkthroughs or templates about all that. This is literally just a mindset shift, a mindset upgrade, however you want to call it, that teaches you on how to go about these type of things. It's basically just about churn, okay, before even fixing about anything. So I really just want to emphasize on that this mini course, which is all completely for free, it is very deep exclusive content that once you would actually were to watch and to consume the information like a sponge, a lot of the things that I'm talking about here, or even the concepts that you can actually figure out on your own, would actually be so seamless because you actually understand the deep rooted psychology of how things run and why they happen. So yeah, by checking out All Humane, and if you actually were to really care about the health of your business, please check All Humane out. It's completely for free. Some of my, here's the thing, right? When I used to run this helping a software company to reduce your churn, it used to be a service-based business, and clients would pay me thousands and thousands of dollars for me to actually be sharing this type of knowledge. So I decided to put it all for free just under the description of this video, so check it out please for your own sake. Getting right back to it, how do you actually create your own customer education system? Step 1 is to actually understand the areas on where your users will churn. Now, this is a very, very important step that I really want to emphasize in the first step of creating your own customer education. Is that you do not want to create guides, any tutorial videos, doesn't matter if it's micro-learning content or articles that users do not need. That is completely useless, completely useful. Then what's the whole entire fucking point of you creating educational content if your users don't need it? So really want to emphasize on this. The reason why this is step number 1, and the reason why you actually want to understand where and why your users were to churn, is because when you understand where it happens and why it happens, then you can actually figure out the educational content strategy to feed those problems. You get what I mean? You're first diagnosing it, you're reading and finding the root cause of the problem before you fix it. And so if you want to make your life easier, I actually have a product called the Churn Proof Roadmap, and this is optional. You don't have to actually check it out because this is a paid product. It's a Notion template that is basically about diagnosing this type of problem, about specifically what I said about where to find where your users churn. Because believe it or not, it's actually kind of more complicated than that to find where your users were to actually churn and why it happens, right? Like actually getting into the nitty-gritty stuff on like the areas of your product on where friction points were to happen and where they actually struggle. Alright, this is what the Churn Proof Roadmap is for. It isn't about fixing the problem yet first, it's about exposing it first. Just like any other problem in the world, you need to know why it's happening and where is it coming from. Now, this is more of like the technical type of things. Unlike All Humane, this is actually a tool, a very useful small digital product that you can actually use to make your life way easier. But this is optional. But with the Churn Proof Roadmap, you'll have a mapped out clear view of your product's critical points. So you would actually understand your product in a sixth sense, like a six-dimensional. It is a complete eye-opener, and then more importantly, you would also have a clear identification of where your users are getting stuck and where they're dropping off. So All Humane is to understand the deep-rooted psychological factor of why your users churn, is to get you into your user's shoe, and the Churn Proof Roadmap is to find the clear identification of where your users are getting stuck and where they are dropping off. So I want you to understand this, right? The value that I'm giving off, this knowledge that I'm giving off is very in-depth stuff, especially when it comes to my educational content like All Humane, which is for free, just I said. It's very in-depth and niche stuff that not many people in the SaaS industry would actually be talking about. So now going back to it, the step 2 of how to create your own customer education system is product experience mapping. Now in the first step, we just covered on understanding where your users churn and why they actually churn. The reason for that is because of this product experience mapping. Now this is just a small table that I'm just using as an example. In the Churn Proof Roadmap, if you're to actually buy it, you to exactly understand what I'm talking about here. But as I mentioned, you don't really have to get the Churn Proof Roadmap. It's optional, but I'm just telling you, if you're to actually get the Churn Proof Roadmap, it will make your life way more easier, and you do have a way clearer view on what the hell is going on, so that you don't get confused and you would, make your life very easier essentially. But touch points are basically areas on where your users were to interact with your product. So that could be like switching plans, like creating a new page, which is a feature that some softwares were to have in their product, and inviting collaborators. These are what I call touch points. And inside these touch points, you would have pinpoints, right? Pinpoints of these specific reasons of, let's say, creating a new page. A pain point of that could be your users don't know which template to use, right? As an example. And then on the third column on the most right, we have the fixed idea, or like the rough idea of how to actually deal with these problems, right? This is what the product experience mapping is for. You would actually want to discover where your users are showing sign of struggle, showing sign of friction, or even worse, showing sign of churn. And then you would actually want to understand why are they churning and why are they struggling in the first place, which is the pain points. And then after that, you will be going through the fixed idea on those problems. And now step 3 is more of a nitty-gritty type thing, and that is to script your content accordingly to your churn roadmap. Now in step 2, once you actually build your product experience mapping, which is this table we have here, then you'd actually want to script your content based on that data that you have. So for example of that is, let's say in your product experience mapping, you want to create a video on how to invite collaborators. And I want you to pay attention that when we are creating these videos, like let's say for example on how to invite collaborators, these are not some random videos that we're just picking off the blue, right? Because in the product experience mapping, we are actually analyzing on where your users are struggling. And then from that data, then that is when we are to actually script the content accordingly, and I emphasize on this, accordingly to the churn-proof roadmap. Okay, so this is just a template, a small short script template on the opening hook, and that shows how to invite your team to your workplace, blah blah, and then your first action setup followed by your second action setup. Then following up with the action setup, you could address the common misuse, or basically address the common mistakes that users would tend to make. Then lastly is the call to action. Is that's it. Now your team know how to use this feature without confusion, without any of all of the problem that they are facing. And step 4 of creating your customer education system is to record the voiceover of the script. The reason why we are doing this is because you have already your script. Now the whole purpose of the script is to voice it out loud. And we recommend doing this by using AI. Some of you might say that, hey, I could actually just have my own team, or me as a founder, I could literally just read out the whole script on my own as a voiceover. But I would really emphasize on using an AI tool for this, because it's just faster and there's less friction. Less friction in the sense that, let's say you were to make up a mistake in any of your recording, right? Or let's say you want to update any of the changes. If you want to do it manually by yourself, think about the time and the effort and the energy you'll be wasting by the repetitions of you having to re-record the voiceover. But when it comes to an AI tool like 11 Labs, which is what I personally use for clients, it's so faster, so easier, and AI is at a state now that the voice would actually sound human. Okay, it sounds human. So you don't have to worry about the voiceover sounding robotic, especially since when you actually put in the right prompt, then you shouldn't be worried about that. So I really emphasize on actually recording the voiceover of the script by using AI tool like 11 Labs. There are some other tools like Artlist, but what I found, 11 Labs is actually the best option when it comes to creating your own AI voiceover. When it comes to pricing, the options, the plethora of preferences in the voice, and just how humane it sounds. And so following up into step 5 is to screen record your UI based on script. And so step 5 into creating your educational system is to screen record your UI based on the script. You have already written your script, now it's time to actually bring it into visual demonstration. And you do that by recording, like literally screen recording your UI on how to actually solve this. Now, in the example of how to invite collaborators into your workspace, you would actually want to screen record that whole entire process on how the procedures, how the step would actually look like. And so step 6, which is essentially the last step of your educational content system, is to simply put all of these elements together. See, now you to have your voiceover from the script, and then you to have your screen recording. You basically just want to put it together. The next, belief barrier alert. You might think that this seems like so much. This is a lot of steps. And can't I just record the videos on my own? Can't I just record this like this presentation? Just go into my UI, screen recording, and then just record the whole entire process and to just use that as my educational content system? Sure, you can do that, because this may seem like a lot, but it is for a very specific reason. Okay, I don't want you to just record some random videos about like how to do this, how to do that, about teaching users, because all of the process here, from the churn-proof roadmap to putting all the elements together, all of the dots connect. Okay, I'm not having a lot of these steps just for the sake of it. They all play a part into each other. They all complement each other. That is the whole entire purpose, because when it comes to educational content, you would want to take it seriously. You would want to provide your users with the best customer experience. Whereas just I said, with great customer education, this results in good customer experience, good customer success. So this is why I don't want you to half-ass it. I would actually want you to take it seriously. So now to package it up, where do you distribute all of the videos of the micro-learning content? Where do you actually distribute your videos once you have actually created the content here? This is where you can actually diversify it. The first way is that you can actually put in your in-app help documents, like a content library that contains all of your educational content. So future users or new users, old users, if they were to have any problems with any processes, they could just go to your library and then go back to that video and to clear up their mind on that. The another way is to have it as a pop-up videos during a milestone for a user's journey, right? Let's say after the onboarding process or during the onboarding process or literally at the start of the onboarding process, that is a milestone. A first key feature of a feature that you would want your users to unlock. This is also where you could also pop up any of the videos there. And so lastly is your support systems and your FAQs, right? If you're to integrate the educational content videos into the support systems and the FAQs, it goes both ways, right? You don't have to spend so much money on support tickets or hiring labor costs on your support systems. So now, more than anything, if you still seem quite unclear of this video, then check out All Humane, because this will literally clear up any uncovered confusing road bumps that you have in your mind, because this is where all the rooted emotional factor comes into play. Right, so as I say, in All Humane, we would be going through the psychological factor, the mindset shifts on to understanding why your users would leave, the emotional factors that causes it, and how to actually go about it. Right, it's just I said, this is to analyze on what is going wrong, what is something that you might be focusing, and to steer you to the right pathway. Because let's be real, I'll be honest, like a lot of you might actually be in the wrong vehicle, and so being on Humane, this can actually help you to understand what you should be prioritizing more on. Yeah, I really want to emphasize on that. All Humane, it's a mindset shift. It's not just me sharing information, me just sharing all of this game. It is a mindset upgrade for you to actually understand how your users were to think. So if you're actually serious about your software business or your AI tool, or basically any subscription-based business, then check out the first link of the video right below in the first description of the link. It is all 100% free. Just check out the link. And if you're new to this channel, you find this video useful, then subscribe to this channel. And from here onwards, you can actually check out this video of me talking about how to actually scrape your educational content.